I really appreciate you sitting down and just talking to me. I'm looking forward to hear your story.
My story is a long one, so I would suggest that you ask any questions you want to know. I've lived in shelters. I've worked in shelters. The first time I was in a shelter was when I was 17. The last time was when I was 47. So it's 57. And I might be getting ready to go in one soon too, I can see it from both sides.
Yeah.
I have seen the grimy. I have seen what people in shelters do to brand new housing that they receive. And then they get more housing. And it's a never-ending cycle of them abusing the system. But I've also seen the system abuse hardworking people who are not mentally incapacitated, people who are working, people who pay their taxes, people who are not undesirable or hurt in any way except by the system and the lack of available, affordable housing. 90% of the people who are in shelters right now, let me not even go that far. 60% of the people who are living in shelters right now, if they could find affordable housing, would not be in a shelter. Forget about drugs, because there's always an element of bad in every segment of society. You're gonna have criminals, you're gonna have drug addicts everywhere. To castigate a whole segment of society, you have children who are homeless. You have the elderly who are homeless. You have the incapacitated or disabled who are homeless through no fault of their own.
Sure.
Because of greed. It's basic greed. A lot of people in real estate are in Congress. A lot of people who have real estate holdings, a lot of corporations have taken over housing, and they are totally, totally relentless in their demonization of the homeless.
Yeah.
There are many people who have homes but have no domicile, have no roof over their heads. Their home is wherever they and their family and their pets cuddle up for the night. Working in the shelters, I've been beat up, I've been spit on, I've had cats thrown at me, I've had food thrown at me from people who are mentally unstable, from young people who have the I don't give up attitude and who just want to get over on the system until they get tired of getting beat up or getting abused or getting, if you'll excuse the expression, shit on by society, by staff members, by security. I've worked for about 25 years in the shelter system.
One of the things that I have heard a lot about shelters is how unsafe it is, and how people would just rather be on the streets. And when I talk to certain people about not wanting to go into the shelters, they tell me a story. They say, we don't want to go there because it's unsafe, unsanitary, whatever the case may be. Then other people, they say they don't want to go in there because in the shelters they're not allowed to do drugs, in the shelters they're not allowed to bring alcohol. So I'm hearing these two sides of the story. So you've been in the shelters since you were 17. Not since you were 17. You went there when you were 17, on and off since you were 17. So what's your take on that?
Well, it's both. The shelters are a microcosm of any neighborhood or any apartment building or any town.
There's everything.
You have good, you have the bad, you have the ugly. There was one poor client, this poor woman, she was sick. She would eat anything, bottle caps, cigarette butts, feces, glass, anything. She was that ill. And she was in the shelter where staff members told us, at that time, I think I was making $5.15 an hour. I was supervisor of security in that particular shelter. She says, you got to get her in the tub. You could not even get near her The police and EMS, when they came to get her, because they were not listening to security. We cannot deal with this. We're not trained. Staff told us to do what you have to do. Otherwise, you'll lose your job. So I did what I had to do, and I called EMS, and I explained the situation. And they came, and two of them were violently ill. You could smell this woman throughout the whole area that she was in before you even saw her. We had another lady who bit the lip off another woman while they were fighting. We had a Russian woman who couldn't eat because the young black girls would take her food, especially on Thursdays, which is notorious for chicken night. So I can tell you countless stories. Bedford Atlantic, they took one of our guards and they held them under the hot water with the long broomsticks. This boy was scalded to death.
A guard?
A guard. He was scalded. I don't know whether he died because it was horrifying enough. I don't want to exaggerate. I want to be as truthful as possible. Anything I say to you can be looked up. I can give you names. I have receipts. I have 23, 24 years working in the shelter system. I have a vast experience in the shelter system, from staff's point of view, from clients' point of view, from security's point of view especially. Securities in the shelters very, very sporadic. A lot of them are just in it for money. You have some that care, and the staff members make it hard because it's a get-over. It's a get-over. It's a business. In jail, you have hierarchies, right? You got the big bad prisoners who everybody's afraid of, including the guards, the wardens, whatever. That's what you see on TV. I've never been in prison. We have girls that have come from prison. We have gentlemen who have come from prison. Young, able-bodied, not mentally deficient, not on drugs or alcohol unless it's recreational. They're abusive, and they use the shelters as a way to pick up victims, especially in the women and children's shelters, as a way of finding weak men and weak women to take them out of the shelters and use them. There's so many different things, but you also have some people that work in the shelters that are so giving. I've seen staff members come out of their pocket to go out of their way to help. You have a lot of people, like I said, it's more than 60%, but I don't know exact numbers because I don't do statistics, I do life. The majority of the people that I've seen, that I've taken care of in the shelters, they're working. Being in the working shelters, I was in one place called The Door. They had me, after I came out of work, sit at a table with my head like this on the table. That's how I was supposed to get my rest. Because they had no beds. And it was overcrowded. And no one lay on the floor or 2 or 3 tables. You had to sit with your head like this on the table to get rest. There's good and bad in everything. With the right resources and the proper caring, you can make shelters better. There are some shelters that are lovely, that people do their 3 to 6 months or 3 to 9 months, and they're on their way, and it's great. But those aren't in the places where they're needed the most. Between dirt, and yes, a lot of shelters are very dirty, very, very dirty. Dirt coming from people coming in from the street who have bugs and the bugs jump. Dirt coming from people who don't want to clean themselves or their area. You have rodents and insects and all kinds of insects. And depending on what shelter you're in, they don't care.
Let me ask
If you
you.
open up, I'm sorry.
I was gonna ask you a question. Do you think it's it's a problem of the, how do I word this? Okay. Is it the issue, the homeless people that are coming in that mess up the shelters, or is it the people that manage the shelters that don't care enough to make the situation livable?
It's not that
does that make sense?
simplistic.
It's not the simplistic.
It's not that simplistic. There's so many factors because you have good people and people that try on both sides, on both sides to make things work. And wherever you go, you're going to have troublemakers.
Yeah.
But some of these troublemakers are sick.
Yeah.
And some of them don't give a F. So to distinguish between the ones that are sick and the ones that don't give a F, you have to have people, you have to have enough manpower to go through each case individually and to suss out the people who are abusing the system. But they don't want to do that. It's easier to lump everyone under one umbrella and treat everyone the same and make rules that prohibit positive actions. It's prohibitive. I used to work 12 to 8. I had a hell of a time every morning when I came in. Oh, we gave your bed away. You didn't come in last night. You missed curfew. What does this paper say that's hung on to the edge of my bed? Oh, it says you work overnight. Okay, sorry about that. Go sit down over there and wait for a bed. The lack of respect given to regular, ordinary, decent, hardworking people is incredible. A lot of the sick, a lot of the young troublemakers are coddled. Oh, they have ADD, DDD, PPTY. Okay, I have PTSD. But I'm not giving you a problem. And that young lady or that young man is giving you a problem. Why are you Oh, they're a baby. They're only 18 or 19.
So then I think then it would go back to management. From at least from what you're saying, I'm gathering that it's management's fault. Because if you have bad people and you have good people, if we had good management in these places, then they would be able to, like you said, not lump them all together, but separate the good from the bad. So it's a management problem.
But when you have 12 staff members working at 360 people, it gets difficult.
I understand.
I'm telling you, both sides. And there's another side. It's the public side. The one that makes people ashamed to say that they're homeless because it's such a stigma.
Yeah.
It has become almost like being an unwed mother in the 50s. Or being gay or lesbian anytime throughout history, or being poor, because there's a stigma to being poor too, especially in this country. There's a stigma to being poor, to being sick, to being other. I'll be 65 in November. I'm tired. But if I become homeless now, I'll probably die before I'm 70. There's no way in the world I can fight or live out in the street. There's no way in the world I can do that. I'm sick. In Florida, I'm not disabled. Anywhere else, I would have been disabled. I'm so sorry I came here. I'm very sorry I came here. But I'm a soldier, so...
It breaks my heart, and it really does, and I'll tell you why. Because I personalize a lot of these stories that I hear. Whenever I see someone of age out in the streets, or not even out in the streets, working, an old lady bagging at Publix or sweeping the floor, it's I see my parents, like I wouldn't want my mom to be working at that age, or to be sweeping floors, or that's not a place for somebody who's in their later years. I think that people in that time should just be enjoying their grandkids and enjoying their sons, their daughters, enjoying life. You know, those things should be done by younger people. So when you tell me that you're almost 65 and you don't think that you can make it out in the streets, it hits me, because you're around my parents' age.
I have to go back to work. I have to find a way, because I'm leaving Florida. The politics down here are bad. They're very bad. They really are. And if you're this state, amongst a lot of couple of, many others, they criminalized homelessness. And I don't want to go to jail because I have no place to lay my head. And I'm not physically able to walk the streets all night. The only thing that's left for me and people like me is to go to work. I don't do illegal. I don't do crime. I'm too old and too fat to run. And I can't fight. I had a very gentle nature. My country, which I love, I'm a service member. I was a service member. I retired honorably, but I have no veterans benefits because I didn't serve enough time. I didn't serve enough active duty time. I was a victim of a crime and I got stabbed when I was 25. I almost didn't make it. I got stitches from here to here. United States military did absolutely nothing for me. Absolutely nothing. No benefits whatsoever. Just my honorable discharge. But still, I got training, so I'm a soldier. I have a work ethic that's from the 1950s. I have a strong work ethic, and I will go back to work as soon as I get out of the state. Right now I'm in a bind. My retirement doesn't even hit $1,000 a month. Okay? I don't have enough time to save, so I have to find out what I'm going to do between now and September, when I'm scheduled to be out of this house. Life is much, much more difficult for so many other people that I cannot complain. I can only pray that I have it in me to do what I got to do. And I'm sure I do, because I've done it before. The day that I don't do it, nobody's going to do it for me. I'll perish. And I have too much life in me to perish. There are many people out in the street that feel that way right now. There are people out in the street that nobody would think that they're homeless because they found a place to hide when the lights go down. There's a whole underground in this country that people don't know about. But if you don't have an address, if you don't have a credit card, you're non-existent. You don't exist. If you don't have a phone number, a tablet, a computer, or a laptop, you're nobody. Whose fault is that? Society? You can't blame an individual for what millions of people are going through. There are millions of single adults with no children who have no place to go and no one to help them. You have hundreds of thousands of elderly who are on the verge, right on the verge of losing everything. And there's no help for them because of greed, because of lack of action by Congress. I love President Biden. The man is doing as much as he can at his age, and he's doing a great job considering what he was left with. But there could always be more done.
You don't have any kids?
No.
Family?
Yes. They're not here in Florida. I'm trying to get out of here to get closer to them, but they're my sister's kids and her grandkids. I can't inflict myself upon them, especially as we've been estranged for more than 30 years. I'm in contact with them now. We're not estranged now, but I can't inflict myself upon them. I'm a stranger to them. Titi has been invisible for the last so many years. We don't know who Titi is. How are we going to have her in our house with kids? I understand this. Again, pride makes one weak, and I had a lot of pride. I gave up my pride 8 years ago to come down to Florida to be closer to family, and they've moved. And they left me, not that they left me, they went to live their lives and be closer to their family, their siblings, which I understand. I've lived by myself most of my life. There's a lot of people like me that we're not mentally incapacitated. We have our problems like everyone else. We're self-sufficient. And the only thing stopping us from progressing is having a place to sleep and bathe and be safe of our own. They don't even let you have a tent. They don't even set up little places where people can be safe, even if they can't lay down. America. Everybody in my family served in the military, with the exception of the kids. Just about everybody in my family, my mother, my father, my uncles. I lost 90% of my uncles in Vietnam. For what? To come home and not see a hope. To come home and be spit on, and you report it to the police, and they say, well, what were you doing? Where were you? What did you do to them that they spit on you? I didn't do anything. I just walked by because I was black. To get beat up by black girls because my name is Brijida, Manso Marcano, and Vedes Shaniqua. To be bothered by women who I don't want to be bothered by men I don't want to be bothered by people that don't understand that I may be alone. That doesn't mean I'm a creep or a moron. It means that I'm quiet and I like being to myself, because life has beaten me down so much that I don't trust people. Good people, church people.
I don't know what to say.
There's nothing to say.
It's such a shame that it's not the first time that I hear that people are going through this because of the American greed. Such a shame that hardworking people are in this situation. I'm having a hard time finding words. What can you said something earlier that the stigma that the homeless people have and the poor, the public is also a big factor in things like these. So what can the public do to help? I mean, understanding is one thing. I'm assuming understanding that it's not to not demonize people in certain situations. What else can we do to help?
If I had power, I would work very seriously on changing laws. However, I'm not politically astute enough to say what needs to be changed, except that there needs to be a certain cap on the amount of space that lies empty within any city. Because you go to any city and you have luxury apartments that are lying empty for years, especially since COVID. But because of greed and because of this disdain that they have for people who are poor or not on their level, whoever they may be, no, they'll rather see those people suffer than to open up those apartments that have lain vacant for more than 6 months because the rents are too high for even the affluent. You have a lot of empty schools and closed stores. You have a lot of properties that lie vacant, just being weeded. Why can't they be used to house people who are deserving of it? You don't have to, they have walled cities, right? They have HOAs. You can have a fenced in area of property where you have Quonset huts, tents, however you want to put it, and check everyone that comes in and out. Make sure that working people and people who are positive or people who have some kind of income and are self-sufficient can have a place to stay in this little community. But they don't want to do it. They don't want to do that. Not in my backyard. Or who's going to take care of it? Who's going to pay for it? With trillions of dollars in grants, you can't get a group of people to come together to work to make a small community. They do it with tiny homes. They do it with trailer parks. They do it with HOAs that have money. So why can't they let people have a space of their own? 10 acres here, 10 acres there. You get rid of 50% of the homeless because it would be better than being on the street and taking a chance of sleeping under a bridge or under a subway or at a bus station and getting mugged or getting killed or being set on fire by teenagers having fun. There are so many beautiful parts of my country and so many ugly, hurtful. Nobody can hurt man as much as man hurts man. It's amazing the things that people do to stop someone else from feeling safe. We basically all want the same thing. Our kids to be okay and safe and fed. Ourselves and our wives, our families to be protected. We all want that. How come people who are poor can't get it? And then you got the super poor. They can't help being super poor, but they get help because the affluent feel good helping those. But you don't want to help the working poor? You don't want to help the people that make this country go around, your delivery men, your security guards, your waitresses, your waiters, your attendants, your daycare workers, your nursing assistants, your delivery people, the restaurant workers, barbers. There's so many little things that if the affluent were to do without, their worlds would fall apart. But we don't deserve. It's very disenchanting. What saves me is the fact that I don't live in North Korea. What saves me is the fact that I have a brain and I have a mouth. And I will use whatever capabilities I have to help myself. Eventually, before too long, I'm going to find some way to help other people, but I can't. Because all my life, I've had people in my house. They've either abused me or they stayed and then went on their way, which is good. Because if you give a helping hand, I don't want money, I don't want anything. Just do what you got to do and be gone. I go on and on. This is the first time I've had an opportunity to really express many of the things that I feel.
What's your plan?
Because I know. I am right now. Oh yeah, you can't see. Packing up, packing my things. Wow, I lost you again. And I only get my money the last Wednesday of each month. This payday for July, I'm going to move my things out of this gentleman's house because he's a very sweet man and I don't want to give him any problem. I'll move my things into a storage unit. And then August, I'm trying to get a loan. If I can get $1,000, then I can move my stuff to Bridgeport, Connecticut, where my sister's family is, and put stuff in storage over there. That's the only thing I can do till I find something. But I know over there in Connecticut, there are like SROs, especially for women. And I have a steady income. I have my retirement, my Social Security. I just need to make it from here to September and make it from Florida to Connecticut. I've got 2 months to solve this problem. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for thinking of me. I have pride, but I need help. But what I would suggest, since I don't want to take away from someone else, I've never been good at taking. You know, I would rather give than take. I don't mind paying. I just can't pay it all in one shot because I only make $955 a month. That's all I make, and I get it in one day. I wanted to put out an ad. This is what I was thinking, to put out an ad for someone here in Florida who wants to make $800-900 and drive my stuff up to Connecticut with me in the car. I don't drive. And $900 because movers are asking for $1,800.
You broke up a little bit. Can you say that last part one more time? I'm sorry, I keep on telling you the same thing, but it keeps breaking.
Yeah, no. I understand. I don't want to, jerk anybody out of their money or take something that I don't deserve. I don't mind paying to move my things from Florida to Connecticut. Just don't have $2,000 to do it. I can give $800 and $800 if they wait a month. Or I can even, I can do whatever I can to pay back whatever I can borrow. I try to take out a loan. I can't. My credit score is 619, and apparently that's not good enough to take out a loan.
Have you tried putting anything on Craigslist?
No, I don't have PayPal or they don't. I don't trust Craigslist. Number one, I don't have the transportation to go pick up anything, and the few people that I have asked outside of moving companies have asked me to send them a deposit, and they're not licensed, they're not bonded, they're not anything. The cheapest one guy told me was $1,300. He said, but I'll give him a $400 deposit. I said, well, are you licensed? He says, no, we'll talk about it after you give the deposit. I'm not paid.
You said that you don't trust Craigslist, but if you needed help posting an ad, I would be more than glad to help.
Okay, I would appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I'm not the type of person to get something for nothing. Right. I'm old school. We've all worked. I know what it's like to earn your money. I would never jerk anybody, but they've gotten over on me so many times when I was trusting, which is another reason why I don't. It's very difficult for me to trust. Very. I'm very hesitant to put myself out there to ask because also hate being told no. And that's it, because I've worked all my life and I never really had to ask anybody. And the times when I was younger, when I needed to ask, and I should have, I didn't, because I can do this myself. I'm not old, although I feel old. And everybody, oh, you're so young, and you don't feel what I feel. But I realize that I'm not decrepit, I'm not in my 70s, I still have life in me.
Well, we'll see what I can do here to facilitate something for you. Again, I don't want to make promises that I can't keep. I'll try my best to facilitate as much as I can.
Understood. I really, even just the hour that you've spent with me right now, helped me get my thoughts a little clear and a little, I know what I need to do. I know what I need.
Yeah, like I said, I really appreciate you taking your time and talking to me. If this was helpful for you in any way, I'm very glad it was. I'm honestly just here to listen. But if you're saying that it's helpful, it means a lot to me, really. So
it did. I've had years stuff bottled inside.
I understand.
Go ahead, yeah.
It was a pleasure meeting you. It really was. And I wish you nothing but the best. I hope this is not the last time we talk.
Anytime you want to call me, Aaron. And again, you've helped me. I really haven't done this much to anyone, but it's helped me see a couple of things, actually.
I'm glad.
And I hope to talk to you. I hope to talk to you again soon.
Awesome. All right, Brijida, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Bye.
Bye-bye, Aaron.